My name is Brooke, and I'm going to be doing my presentation on Chapter 3 of the reading, which is Human Relations and Human Resource Approaches. In the book, it starts out from classical theory to human relations, the Hawthorne studies. The Hawthorne studies were all led by Elton Mayo and his research team. Elton Mayo was born 1880 and died in 1949. He was an Australian and a psychologist. He was also an industrial researcher and an organizational theorist. His field research in industry had significant impact on industrial and organizational psychology. He created the four major phases marked the Hawthorne studies, which were the elimination studies, the relay assembly test room studies, the interview program, and the fourth one was the bank wiring room studies. To start out with the first one is elimination studies. These were designed to determine the influence of lighting level on worker productivity. The second one was the relaying assembly test room studies. This was to better understand the productivity increases they saw in the elimination studies. Mayo put a group together. 6 women were in this group who assembled telephone relay systems. Then they changed their workplace. For example, they changed the temperature in the rooms, they changed the work hours between the coworkers, and then they also changed the coworkers, so they switched it up. And the book says, because productivity remained higher under a wide range of conditions, Mayo and his colleagues believed the results could be best explained by the influence of social group on productivity and the extra attention paid by the managers to the 6 workers in the group. The third one says the interviewers program. Mayo and his colleagues conducted a series of interviews with 1,000 of the employees at the Hawthorne plant. The interviewers found workers more interested in talking about their feelings and their attitudes. The interviewers were more emotionally based rather than the objective difficulties of the situation. The fourth one was the bank wiring room studies. A final series of investigations involved naturalistics or non-experimental observations of a group of men in the bank wiring room. In the study, the slow workers were pressured to speed up, and the faster workers were pressured to slow down. The book says Mayo and his colleagues concluded that the social group influences on workers' behavior exceeded the leverage exerted by the formal organizational power structure. Overall, productivity increases were often associated with changes in the work environment, such as work hours, temperature, lighting, and breaks. And social pressure work increased because they were paying attention to the other workers. Now moving to Abraham Maslow. Maslow was born in 1908 and died in 1970. He was a psychologist who created Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow proposed that humans are motivated by 5 types of needs. They are physical needs, safety needs, affiliation needs, esteem needs, and the need for self-actualization. The first one is physical needs. This is the need of human body. So like food and water and how our body needs sleep, things like that we need. The next is safety needs. And this is the desire to be free from danger and environmental threats. So, for example, there's like when somebody gets hurt, their adrenaline kicks in, and that is one of the safety needs. Affiliation needs is like the belonging need or the love need, referring to the necessity of giving and receiving human affection and regard social relationships. The fourth one is esteem needs. The desire of individuals to feel a sense of achievement and accomplishment. And there is external esteem and internal esteem. And external esteem is achieved through public recognition and attention. And internal esteem is achieved through a sense of accomplishment, confidence, and achievement. And the fifth need is need for self-actualization. This is the desire to become more and more what is one to become everything that one is capable of becoming. In other words, being all that you can be. And some examples of this of these 5 needs that I can relate to is obviously the physical needs, because I am like everybody else. I need water, I need food, and I need sleep. And then one I wanted to add on was the gym. I like working out and it makes me feel better physically and mentally. And then relating this to my husband, or in other terms, men need to go to the gym to release testosterone. And for my husband, it makes him happier. So when going to the gym is a very good physical need. And affiliation need, I also refer to this one the most because I need to feel loved by the most important people in my life, like my parents and my husband. And then when I go home to visit my family, I refer to my nieces and my nephews coming up and hugging me and embracing me. I love to care, and I love this need. It's very important to me. And the one of them, the esteem needs, this relates more to my husband because he always, it's like to remind what the esteem needs is need to achieve an accomplishment. And when my husband Braden, when he was in undergrad, he was starting up businesses left and right, and then having employees come in and then selling those businesses. And now he's in dental school, and he is working really hard to get good grades so that he can specialize, because if he wants to specialize, you have to get good grades in order to even qualify to specialize. So he is very self-motivated, and that also relates back to the 5th need, which is the need for self-actualization, which is be all that you can be. The book quotes, "The notion of prepotency suggests that lower-level needs must be satisfied before an individual can move on to a higher-level needs. For example, an individual will not attempt to satisfy affiliation needs until need for physiology, functions, and safety have been provided for. Thus, in the organizational context, social relationships on the job will not be satisfied if the organization has not provided adequate wages and working conditions." Maslow's concentration on the satisfaction of human needs, especially the higher order of needs of esteem and self-actualization, reflects the shift of organizational theorizing that began when the Hawthorne researchers discovered the importance of social interaction and managerial attention in the workplace. To focus on the importance of social interaction just for a minute. So referring back to my husband and how he's in dental school, I believe that most of the dental schools, they look for people that are maybe married or that have a support system, a continuous support system, because it is very important that when they go out and they are working and they're working hard, and then they come home to a well-organized and good support system, because it provides them to be more calm and to get their things done that they needed to. And another example of importance of social interaction, there is a movie called I Am Legend, and Will Smith is the main actor in the movie, and it's about an infection that takes over the city, and it's killing people, and then they're kind of turned into zombies, and he's looking for a cure. And while we're watching Will Smith act out this movie, we see that he has made friends over a period of a time to be able to relate to them and to interact. And then you figure out that who he's interacting with is just a mannequin. And the mannequin's name is Fred, and he talks to Fred every single day, and he interacts with him. Another example is from Castaway, Tom Hanks. And then everybody's pretty familiar with this movie because he interacts with a volleyball, because humans need to be able to interact, to cope, and to be sane. And then also a day-to-day example is growing kids and growing babies. While they are learning things and growing, they need to be talked to and interacted with to be able to learn how to speak from example. I have a friend that has a little girl, and she doesn't talk with her kid, and she goes and does her stuff, and then her little girl goes and watches TV. And nowadays she's 2.5 years old, almost 3, and the only word she can say is ma, water. She can't even say like the word water, like just full sentences. She can't do anything like that. So the importance of interaction is very important. Now moving to McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. So Douglas McGregor was born in 1906 and died in 1964. He was a management professor at the MIT Sloan School of Management. He wrote a book in 1960 called The Human Side of Enterprise. His book had a profound influence on education and practices. He organized Theory X and Theory Y. That's why he was so important. So going into detail about Theory X and Theory Y. So Theory X, the management is responsible for organizing money, material, and people for economic ends. People must be controlled and motivated to fit organizational needs. Without this, they would not have success. And an example of Theory X is controlled and motivated situations. So like a high school teacher, if they have to control the classroom, and then they also, if they're wanting to motivate them to do well on a test or on a quiz, they can motivate them with a movie or saying that they didn't have to have class for the next day. Motivation is key for wanting to have success and get things done. Another example is like a parent telling their kids to clean their room, and the motivation could be they go out for ice cream or something like that. Motivation is like Theory X's need a reason of why something needs to be done, like cleaning a room. They need to be motivated. Now moving to Theory Y, he believes that managers should conceptualize workers as motivated by higher order needs in Maslow's hierarchy and as capable of independent achievement in the workplace. Theory Y is different from Theory X because independent achievement. They thrive for independent achievement in this type of situation. Individuals need to have confidence to motivate themselves. In Theory X, they were being motivated for, and now in Theory Y, they have to have confidence in themselves to be able to motivate themselves. The managers in Theory Y assume their workers are highly motivated. They just assume that. Thus, a Theory X manager assumes that strong and forceful hand is essential for harnessing the efforts of basically unmotivated workers. In contrast, a Theory Y manager assumes that workers are highly motivated to satisfy achievement and self-actualization needs, and that the job of the manager is to bring out the natural tendencies of these intelligent and motivated workers. Both are very important in an organization, and both are very important in any type of situation, whether it's a family or a relationship situation. And management thrives off of Theory X and Theory Y. It depends on who the manager is and what they are wanting out of the situation. In conclusion, to hit the main points of Chapter 3, which is Human Relations and Human Resources Approaches. We talked about the Hawthorne studies and Elton Mayo and what effect he had on the Hawthorne studies and how he helped science be able to progress, and then relating that back to communications so that we can have success in our organizations. Then we moved on to the 4 phases of the Hawthorne studies and how each phase was important and how each phase was able to come back in all the research together and to be able to have success in our own studies and in our own organizations. And next we talk about Abraham Maslow and the hierarchy of the needs and why each one was important. Then we talked about Douglas McGregor and the Theory X and Theory Y, and the difference between Theory X and Theory Y and how they are both important to organization. Thank you for watching.